Hello, so today is going to be a day where we go over an Enforcer game. So Enforcer is one of the main archetype vertical traits, so one of the ones where a lot of units have that trait. So it should be somewhat common that you see Enforcer units in your shop. Enforcer is a little bit awkward to play, I would say. It's really hard to find a good carry because Vi herself feels very weak if she doesn't have like either a lot of pit fighter synergies or if she doesn't have like a really high vertical Enforcer synergy with her. So a lot of times it's a little bit awkward to play around Vi, which is the main carry. But so a lot of times like an Enforcer Emblem is really essential because if you hit the vertical Enforcer, like if you hit 6 or 8, especially 8, then your team kind of pops off really hard and does really well. And that's what we're going to see here today. It's going to be me playing around an Emblem. So as you can see in my start, I have a step upgrade. I took an extra bruiser. It's Scuttle Puddle, so it's going to be a little bit of a high roll type of game. Because like you're just going to get more gold and more loot, so everybody's going to have items. And as you can see, I get offered an Enforcer Emblem. So one thing that's really important to note with the Enforcer Emblem is if you read it, it not only gives you the Enforcer Emblem, it also gives you a Loris. And a Loris is the 3-cost Enforcer. So right now I already have a Camille, I already have a Steb, so to me it seems like a really good spot for the Enforcer Emblem. Because as you can see, I'm already going to be at 4 Enforcer, right? As you can see, I can level, boom, I put in Loris, and now I am 4 Enforcer off rip. Because I'm going to be playing around Vi most likely, I'm down to make melee items, right? So those are items that, you know, like a Bloodthirster, Hodge, like, Omnivamp items, things like that. But that's why Enforcer Emblem was really good to take here. I normally don't like to force something on 2-1. I feel like it's better just to play flex. There's lots of flex options this set. But in this case, it was probably the best augment I could have hit just because it instantly puts me in a strong position for my stage 2. Now, in terms of the actual comp that you would want to play when you're playing around Enforcer, we're going to get straight into it right now. But also make sure to like and subscribe if you do like my content. These are going to be those daily VOD reviews that I talk about in some of my other videos. I also do guides occasionally. I try to do one once per week that's a little bit more edited and a little bit more overarching and informative. But anyways, let's go to stats, or team builder, sorry. So when you're playing around Enforcers, if you click all of the Enforcer units, you will see that there's a couple inter-team synergies. It's 7 out of 6 Enforcer, so in order to hit 8 Enforcer, you do need 1 Emblem. So a lot of times you're going to play around 6 Enforcer. I don't think 6 Enforcer is particularly strong. I wouldn't necessarily make my game plan to play Vertical Enforcer into 6 Enforcer, and a lot of the reason is this right here. This Vi unit is a little bit underpowered. She's really strong. She also is really good with a lot of anomalies. Like a lot of anomalies really unlock her potential. Excuse me, but it's a little bit difficult without having 8 Enforcer to make it really work out and shine and come to fruition of like this great amazing comp. But anyways, typically what you're going to end up playing is you're going to play something like this. Caitlyn, synergize with Maddie, so you can easily keep in these two if you end up finding a Caitlyn. Until you find a Caitlyn, you're usually just going to play 6 Enforcer, and it's going to look something like this. There's different ways to play. You can reroll Camille to 3-star, but typically then you're just playing around Ambushers, so you can play Vertical Ambusher Camille reroll with what's his name, Smeech. Right, let's find Smeech just so you can see what he looks like. You can play like Ambusher reroll, but it's not necessary. Camille usually you'll use as an item holder until you find the Vi eventually. I'm going to put all the Enforcer units in. So as you can see, there's 7 Enforcer units. If you have an Enforcer +1, one of the best units to play with an Enforcer emblem is an Ambessa. The reason is just that Ambessa and Vi kind of do the same thing. They're both frontline melee users of items, or melee units, so they can like use items and basically work as frontline units in addition to everything else. So a lot of times what you'll do is you'll roll down really aggressively when you're looking for your anomaly, see which one of these you have more of, and then Ambessa, I feel like she's really strong with Enforcer Emblem. If you haven't tried it already, Enforcer Emblem on her is really good, and then you just make like typical melee items for the two of them. So something like, you know, this isn't going to be like the perfect items, but you can just make like frontline melee-esque items, something like Titans, Sterix, you know, Bloodthirster, and you could put them on whichever unit you upgrade first. Now this is typically what your board's going to look like. You could play Vertical Emissary and drop down on the Enforcers, but a lot of times 8 Enforcer is really good, and then you're typically just going to put in one of the frontline synergies, either in the form of Bruiser or Sentinel. A lot of times it just ends up being a Sentinel. So something like a Rumble late game will fit in and cap out this board really nicely, and this will be like your level 9 board. Twisted Fate works well because he's Quick Striker, so you get at least one quick striker on the Ambessa, and then the rest of the units are just there for the synergies. You can also play a bruiser instead of rumble in the meanwhile, and until you have a Caitlyn, you can basically drop these 2 units, and then you just put in somebody else. You put in a sentinel and maybe a bruiser until you make it to level 9. So it's actually really flexible. It's really easy to play around. You just have to make melee items, and then you prioritize the Caitlyn items later if you can get them. That's typically how it works. So as you can see, that's what I started my game with. Because Enforcer has Camille, it actually works out really well, the trait. It's just, the problem is mostly just Vi. If I'm being real, it's just that Vi, unless you have 8, I feel like if you have 6 Enforcer, Vi does nothing. If you have 8 Enforcer, she really gets a lot of tankiness. The way Enforcer works, by the way, is, actually I can show you here just so it's a little bit easier to read. Give me 1 second. I never really talked strictly about the Enforcer trait, but I'll explain it really briefly. Basically, when you have more Enforcers, what happens is enemies become wanted, right? So they get marked as wanted. These wanted units, when they die, your Enforcers gain 30% attack speed. So you kind of have a snowball effect of as you kill frontline units, which are the ones with the high HP, you will get more and more attack speed. Now, when you have 8 Enforcer, it becomes 5 units, so you get this huge stack. Also, you get a lot of HP, so each stage of Enforcer gives you a little bit of percentage HP, as you can see, and it gives you damage amp. So the damage amp, the HP are really good for the melee front lines. That's why you want to play around Vine and Vesa, and it's why like there's a huge spike from 6 to 8, as you can see in the damage amp. It goes from 35 to 55. You really start to notice the Vi doing like an incredible amount of work once you get to 8 Enforcer. 6 Enforcer a little bit sus, so I'm not sure exactly, but you can play it a similar way with similar units. You just have 1 less emblem, so you have to drop one of the other Enforcers, just play around 6 and maybe vertical emissary, something like that. But either way, it works out really, really well. The damage amp is incredibly strong. And then you also gain attack speed, which works really well for melee units because it helps them keep that Omnivamp uptime by doing lots of auto attacks while they're in the front line. Anyways, as I was saying before, the trait feels really nicely designed because Camille exists as a 2-cost unit that is also a melee unit. There's some other traits where it's like a little bit hard to like put items inside the trait because some units that are lower cost don't work the same way as some of the higher cost units, right? It makes it a little bit awkward at some points in the game. Here, because Camille is like a melee frontline-ish unit, she works like that same archetype, you can very easily just give her items that you would later transfer onto a Vi or an Ambessa. So here, this is typically what your board looks like in your early/mid game. If you hit the 4 Enforcer and you have the Enforcer +1, basically what I have is I have Scrap, Bruiser, and Enforcer. Eventually I can level and I can play a Sentinel. That's going to be my next in. I have Ambusher to synergize with the Camille, and I have Scrap to synergize with the Trundle so that I get an extra component turned into a real item type of situation. But anyways, this is Scuttle Puddle. This is a comp that's pretty expensive because a lot of it hinges as well on finding Caitlyn 2 eventually. You're also playing around 2-4 costs, so it works out well because it is Scuttle Puddle. So people are going to have a lot of gold to play around with, so that works out with this comp. You wouldn't want to necessarily play towards some of these comps in these situations. They're accidentally sold a rel, by the way. I shouldn't have. We're going to start marking up this thing. I think there were some mistakes. I know at the end I really messed up badly in like the last couple of turns, but there was very little I think I could have done much differently this game. I did feel like I placed really well. Here I just like making Titans, so I'm going to make a Titans for the time being. And then I'm going to hold on to these components to make anti-heal and shred and stuff like that. I'll probably make a gargoyle just because like chainmail is chain whatever, and I'll just hold on to the rod and the bow in order to make utility items later. Anyways, let me just get the pen work out. How are you guys enjoying set 13? Let me know in the comments if you are enjoying set 13. I've been really enjoying it. I feel like I'm getting really frustrated while I'm streaming. Because like I'm more frustrated at myself. I'm not really frustrated at the set and the units. I'm just very frustrated at myself because I feel like I'm making a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes. But I think it's just like me being hard on myself. It still is very early in the set, so I think like a lot of the mistakes I'm making is just me not being snappy enough because it's like, you know, I'm still getting used to the new set and like how everything works out together and all of that. But either way, I'm trying to do my little ranked climb. Hopefully I could get to plat by the end of the day. I'm gonna try and play a little bit off stream. So I want to keep up with the rank up journey, so I don't get like stuck in some elo where I am. Anyway, Sword Overflow seems really good. Freaky Friday is typically just like the melee, Triforce is one of the best items on melee units typically. The stats are still really fresh, and they just did like a little like patch update thing. It's B patch today, so I don't want to necessarily like guide my decision on item stats just yet. I'll probably start doing that next week when things are a little bit more set in stone. But Freaky Friday seems good. The other option was the attack one, the one that gave attack speed and a bunch of swords. But I figured that I already have a bunch of attack speed on my units, and if I'm making like a Deathblade, for example, I have attack speed and damage amp from the Enforcer trait. So I'd rather just get Infinity Forces that kind of give like a nice well-rounded stats, and they're usually like the best items to put on melee units. If you look at previous sets especially, every time there's like a melee comp that's meta, that's kind of what I'm angling myself towards here. Whenever it's like a melee comp that's meta, Infinity Force is usually good on those units. So this is my board. Like I said, I'm carrying this Camille. I could roll a little bit on level 6 here for the Camille too, but I know that I'm going to need so much gold to hit my Vi and my Ambessa later on. Because I'm playing Vertical Enforcer, I also have a lot less flexibility on the units that I can play. Right, a lot of this game hinges on me being able to not only find an Ambessa, but also to find a Caitlyn and a Vi eventually to cap out my board. Because I'm playing Vertical Enforcer, I don't have the flexibility of just buying whatever unit. Like, you know, if I see like a Corki in my shop, you know, I can't really like play around that as easily. So I need more gold to eliminate that variance. So, you know, I don't want to spend as much as it would be nice to upgrade units. It's like I can't roll for just Camille, right? If you look at the rest of my units, I already have a Loris upgrade that I high rolled during stage 2, so I'm just gonna try and let it rock, and my damage might be a little bit lower on stage 3, but I already like streaked on stage 2, so I have a good bank set up. I have a good econ established that I can use to generate more gold towards the future. So anyways, a lot of these rounds are just gonna be really chill. I'm just gonna be doing not all that much. Also, I didn't have the inking. I guess it wasn't working there. I reset it. All right, here we go. Let's get back to it. So, yeah, Camille is way overtuned, by the way. She is very strong. If you haven't tried Camille Reroll, I think that might be a video in a couple days. I'm probably going to do it for next week. Excuse me. I have a lot of VODs from what I've been playing. So I played Camille Reroll, and it was very strong. I think I ended up like 3rd with it, but there was definitely some things I could have done a little bit better because of my first time playing it. I think it's starting to catch on. I think people are starting to realize that this Camille unit is really, really strong to play around with the Vertical Ambusher. So I wouldn't be surprised if like that reroll becomes a little bit more common. Of course, like the way TFT always works is that the rerolls get figured out first a lot of the times. So often you'll be playing the game, and all of a sudden it will feel like there's like a lot of reroll comps that appear. It's just because like those are the ones that people figure out first. You know, they'll just reroll a unit, right? Tristana reroll is kind of doing pretty well. Camille reroll is doing well. Obviously, Kog'Maw reroll is really, really strong. So you might find some lobbies where you kind of feel forced to reroll a little bit. So just keep those options open, right? A lot of times rerolls work better if other people are also rerolling. Family reroll as well is a thing that's really getting annoying now because this Vander unit, I don't know how they didn't nerf him yet. But either way, the idea is that you should always be considering these options. Like right now, it's Scuttle Puddle, so I don't want to play reroll. I think there's one Kog'Maw player, but nobody else seems to be angling towards a reroll angle. So I definitely want to try and tempo my way and go towards some sort of like vertical trait, make it to level 9 in order to keep up with the rest of the lobby. If, for example, it wasn't Scuttle Puddle and everybody instead was rerolling, like the whole lobby was, 2 people playing Kog'Maw or snipers, 1 person playing family, then you might consider yourself, okay, it's going to be easier for me to hit my units because they're going to thin out the pool. They're going to buy all of the other 2 costs that they want to put on their board, like the Zeres and the Vanders and the whatever the fucks, right? So then it might be easier for you to hit if you just reroll and then level later. But like I said, I'm not doing that because I feel like I'm in a spot where I just play towards the vertical trait. This guy looks like he's angling towards Enforcers as well without an Enforcer +1. I don't think it's going to end well for him. I think he's going to be really weak if he continues that way, but he might just be playing it for like early/mid game. Other than that, nobody really ever... The benefit you have of playing Enforcers is that it's very strong with an Emblem, and nobody really plays around Vi very often. If people are playing around Vi, they're probably going to lose anyways. She's just not super reliable. I feel like she just dies too soon a lot of the times. I've seen like people play like vertical pit fighter, like 6 pit fighter with Vi, and it'd be really viable. And I've seen her work really well in like vertical enforcer, like 8 enforcer work really well, like is what I'm angling towards. But a lot of the other situations, she seems very like I don't know how to describe it, like very underwhelming. So I wouldn't like structure my game plan around Vi in particular, is what I would say. There's probably better options you can angle yourself towards. For example, if you try and flex between Corki and Twitch, that's a really good option. If you flex between like, you know, AP, like either between Heimer or Zoe, now that Rebels got buffed a lot, like there's a lot of other options that you can start your game off instead of angling yourself towards like melee and saying you're gonna play Vi, if that makes sense. Hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully it makes a little bit of sense. I'm speaking some level of reasonable take here. Okay, so we're setting ourselves up for the roll down. The roll down is going to happen very soon. So on 4-2, like I said, we're going to be looking for Ambessas and we're going to look for Vi. It's probably going to be a very aggressive roll down for me. I'm not sure if I'm contested on the enforcers, so it's going to be really bad if I don't hit. This is really, really unlucky, by the way. If you look at the side of my board, like, this is an AP dude's dream. Like, what the fuck? Like, come on. Like, I literally hit, like, 4 tiers. Like, I had 1 tier. I got dropped, like, 3 tiers. Now, like I said before, I'm playing around melee units. So, I can't use these tiers really well. Now, obviously, I'm going to make a blue buff. I'll probably put on Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate is an AP user. But most of my board is AD, right? Like, Ambessa is AD, if I play an Ambessa. Camille is AP or AD, but she doesn't need to cast. My backline is going to be Caitlyn, which is AD. It's kind of just a mess. But anyways, we're probably just going to... We can use this to make a lot of frontline items. That's the thing that you should always consider. It's just that tiers aren't really good for making all the best items for me. So we can reforge this. We got dropped a frying pan, right? I think everybody just got some kind of drop. Some kind of prismatic drop or whatever from the crabs. So I have a frying pan. I could make another enforcer emblem. It just makes it a little bit easier to fit in my board. So let's see. Here Little Buddies is really good. There's a lot of 1 cost and 2 cost that I'm playing on my board forever because I'm playing vertical enforcers. I got this one that's the Vi and the Echo. If it was the Vi, I think there's one with Vi and Caitlyn, and I think there's one with Vi and Jinx. I think both of those might have worked a lot better because I have the Enforcer emblem, so I could easily play like the Jinx with Enforcer. But I hit Vi Echo. I think it can still work with an Enforcer emblem because I will hopefully have 2 of them with this extra frying pan. But I just don't want to chance it because I really want to play around Ambessa, so I'm not going to put items on Echo. I just want to play around the Ambessa, which I think is a little bit better. I should play Twisted Fate, by the way. Here I'm putting items on the Maddie. I kept Maddie in because she's a Little Buddy. Little Buddies only works with 2 and 3 cost units. But Twisted Fate gives the synergy to Ambessa, so I definitely should have played around the Ambessa, which is just my bad. Yeah, I want to make an Adaptive Helm. Yeah, I should make Adaptive Helm, put it on this guy. This is a bit of a messy round. I think I'm just tilted because of how many tiers I got. So I'm going to reforge the frying pan to turn into a spatula. Because I'm going to make another Enforcer emblem, and then I can drop some extra units, and I can play some more frontline synergies. But overall, I kind of just fumbled this turn a lot. I'm holding on to all these stebs, because maybe a steb 3 is good. Like, who knows? But it's just a little bit awkward. This guy's holding on to Vise. He's playing like some mixed pit fighter board for some reason. I don't get it. So, you know, we're going to be contested along the way here, which is not the best thing in the world. But either way, we're fine. Like I said, I'm gonna roll aggressively in these 3 couple rounds. The reason I'm rolling aggressively is not because I think I'm gonna bot 4, which I might anyways. It's not because I particularly think my board is weak either. It's mostly just because I need to ensure that I know which one of these 2 units I want to upgrade for my Anomaly. That's basically it, right? I could either commit to upgrading Vi, or I could commit to upgrading Ambessa. So ideally, a lot of times it's nice to roll and to have one of them upgraded, or at least paired, right? Now I have Ambessa paired. So you have a little bit more of an indication of, okay, this unit will probably be upgraded first, so I'll get better value if I use my Anomaly on this unit. but you're typically going to use on either Vi or Ambessa, and then eventually we're going to be looking for a Caitlyn. Now I have 2 Enforcer emblems, ideally on Carousel I hit the next one, so I will be able to play 8 Enforcer very soon, so this Vi will pop off. I feel like 8 Enforcer Vi is strong. It's nothing to be super stressed about. So anyways, we want this chainmail, which we should be able to get. Nobody in this low of item pick, or this much item pick priority, is looking for a 2-cost chainmail. So that's good. So now we're going to have our 2 Enforcer emblems. We're going to be 8 Enforcer this turn. We might want to still roll to see if we hit Vi 2 or Ambessa 2, because, you know, it comes down to, like, which one we hit. As you can see, I still have this stupid Singed on my board. I'm 3 Sentinel. A lot of times when you're playing a board like this and you have extra emblems, it really fits to play Sentinel as well as to play Bruiser. You just give yourself team-wide frontline buffs, which are just useful to the rest of your team. So I still have this Singe. As you can see, I swap him out for Twisted Fate. I should have had Twisted Fate in already because it gives Quick Striker for the Ambessa. So I'm totally down for it. As you can see, I put in Alawi. I'm trying to debate if I put in either Quick Striker, if I put in Singed, or if I put in Alawi. I think I decide that because it's an Alawi 1, I'm probably not going to keep the Alawi on my board. I'd rather just put in a 1-cost here to power up my Ambessa using the Little Buddies augment. Right, the Little Buddies augments your 4 and 5 cost gain power based on how many 1 and 2 costs you have on your board. So I'm just playing the Singe now for fun here. You know, I know he's not going to tank anything, but it's just to make my Ambessa more of a demon. As you can see, this Ambessa, she's going to pop off. Now I have Ambessa too, so I know I'm committing my Anomaly towards this Ambessa. The thing that's great about playing melee users is that they can use pretty much majority of the anomalies, right? They can use all the AD anomalies in this case because she's an AD unit. She can use frontline anomalies because she's a frontline unit, and she can use like tank anomalies because she needs tankiness in order to survive, right? So if I look at this, on takedown, charge the next target and stun them and then heal 10% max health. I rolled this one. That was really greedy of me. I really want, oh, what the fuck did okay, I took this one. That was really greedy. So all 3 of those would have been good. I was just greeding really aggressively. So I think if I had less gold, I should have taken any of them. I took this one that de-aggroes. This one's very, very strong for melee units. Basically, every 4 seconds, you become untargetable. So every 4 seconds, you basically get like an Edge of Night proc. That's how it works. And then after that, you gain like 10% speed or something. I don't know what it is. So that one's really broken. I'm glad I greeted because I got a much better Anomaly. But the 2 prior ones were both good. Something that I have to work on is when to greet Anomaly and when not to greet Anomaly. Because that might come back to bite me because I did roll a couple times. I could have been making 20 this turn. I'm also holding all these Stebs. I should probably just sell them. Who gives a fuck about Steb 3 anymore? Because I'm probably going to try and go towards 9 to play around Caitlyn anyways. But yeah. This Anomaly is very, very strong, by the way. It's just insanely strong. It's one of the like it's like one of the game-winning ones. If you have a melee unit and they de-aggro every 4 seconds, like that's nuts. Like it's actually nuts because the biggest thing with melee is sustaining. The only time it doesn't work well is if like the rest of your board is unupgraded trash, because then the rest of your board dies before anything happens. So you know that's just a separate issue. Here I put in Irelia because I think Irelia is just a little bit better. There's also maybe a Rebel synergy that I can play towards later. I'm definitely not going to be playing Chembear and Singed, so I'm okay with swapping out to Irelia here. But anyways, you know, a little bit greedy of me. I think it definitely pays dividends, but I think looking back on this, I would have taken at least the one that gives 700 HP and 25 armor and MR. That one seems like you should never pass up on it. There's very few ones. This is one of the few anomalies that is better than that. I could have gotten punished really hard for what I did. Here is definitely going to be Last Whisper. I can make Last Whisper, and then I'm going to make a Bloodthirster for this Vi, so that I can complete my Vi item sets. Last Whisper isn't the best on Twisted Fate. He does hit multiple units, but he hits them with AP damage, so it doesn't actually proc the Last Whisper. However, I will swap these items onto Caitlyn eventually. It's just an item holder for now, and it's better to put 3 items on one unit than to switch items on other units, so I think this is fine. I'm going to make sure that my Vi and my Ambessa are towards where the Twisted Fate is, so that we can capitalize on the Sundering, which happens during his auto attacks only. But we'll be fine. As you can see, I'm kind of steamrolling everybody in the lobby right now. A a good reason for that, or a big reason of that, is because Ambessa with the Enforcer emblem is very strong. Like I said before, 8 Enforcer is strong as shit. 6 Enforcer, very weak. 4 Enforcer, useless. Like the things that, like, this comp really wants you to have a spat. So I would not recommend playing it. I actually played this comp a second time without the Enforcer emblem, just playing 6 Enforcer, and I had a Caitlyn and everything. I had a Caitlyn and a Rumble 2 and a Vi 2 and all upgraded units. And I went like the hardest 6th of my life. It was very difficult. Now I'm sure there's ways to make it work. I'm sure everybody could high roll any spot and make it amazing. I'm not saying that's impossible. Right? Yeah, I just keep swapping this emblem off different people. Originally, I was thinking Bruiser was better because my emissary bonus from Ambessa is that the whole team gains a little bit of armor and MR, so I was trying to balance that out with HP. But I think the Conqueror stacks on the Ambessa is probably a little bit better. I'm kind of down to just get the Conqueror bonus on Ambessa for these fights. Because Ambessa is going to kill everything anyways. Not that I think it's going to be that much, but I think, like, you know, a little bit of extra AD and AP could go a long way for this Ambessa. But anyways, this is typically what you see. Just like 2 sets of melee units just going to town. I've won so many rounds. I've won basically every round since I've upgraded all my units. The Anomaly that I got is really broken. And I'm basically going to try and make it to level 9 so I can play around Caitlyn. Caitlyn would be a good next in. I'll probably lose one of the other, like a Camille probably. Twisted Fate obviously synergizes really nicely with my board. So I'm always going to keep Twisted Fate on the board. But when I level, because I have 2 emblems, I'll probably just lose the Camille. And that will just be my board. I can also, like, stop, like, worrying about little buddies as much, which would probably be a good advice. This is going to be a board that's hard to beat because it's family reroll. This Vander unit is fucking impossible to kill. Another thing that's really important with Enforcers, by the way, I didn't mention it earlier. I kind of mentioned it a little bit when I was talking about the description. So you see these little, like, icons that are on the Enforcer units, or on the enemy units. These are to indicate which units are getting, are the wanted units, the quote-unquote wanted units. The wanted units, when you kill them, you gain the 30% attack speed. So you really have to, it feels similar to, like, you know, if you played set 11, like set 12 that just happened. It's similar to, like, Hunter, right? You need to kill the unit to get the proc. So you want to make sure that you position yourself around wanted units that you can kill. So there, that fight, my Ambessa got caught on the Vander. That's like a mistake on my part. So a way that I could have won that round is that if my Ambessa killed some of the other wanted units, not because the Vander's unkillable, I would have gained more attack speed. Right? If I killed these units first, like the Saviko was still alive at the end just because my positioning was so bad. If I killed the other wanted units, I would have gained stacking attack speed, and that would have greatly helped out all my Enforcer units, because basically my whole board is Enforcers. They would have all gained attack speed. Here, I'm 33 HP. I don't want to drop into a really bad spot, so I just level and roll. It's not that much to roll for, but it's okay. Basically, I just want a Bruiser in. Bruiser is fine. I should probably Enforcer Rumble if I'm being honest here. I think it's probably a little bit better. I put in a Quick Striker for now, because, like, it's fine. But I probably should just do this, and I have to sell Steb. I'm not going for Steb 3. I took IE for Caitlyn. There's a world where I should have leveled next turn, because all I really did was I leveled for 1 extra Quick Striker. It wasn't that big of a level, but I was looking for any reasonable upgrade because I just want to make sure that I don't lose too hard. Because, yeah, like, look at this guy. Level 9. Some people are really high roll, right? Some people hit, like, a lot in this lobby. I didn't talk about that much, but when you scout it around, there's a lot of boards that are kind of crazy. Like, there's that guy's board. There's this guy's board that sees 70 HP just win streaking. He has, like, a Rumble 2, and he's, like, vertical scrap. It's an actual fucking disaster. So I just want to make sure that I'm trying to play for placements, basically, right? I'm trying to make sure that I don't lose as much HP. So any small upgrades that I can possibly find, I'm happy with, just to make sure that I don't, like, completely die. This guy's level 10, by the way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just made it to level 9. That guy's level 10. Like, how the fuck? Like, when? Like, how? Which I think it's because of, like, you know I got a spatula. This guy doesn't have a spatula. Like, you know, I got a frying pan, so I think he got a bunch of gold, and then he high rolled, so he just went straight to 10. That's crazy, though, right? He has, like, 80 gold more than me, right? Obviously, he's been win streaking. He's win streaking, like, most of the game. He's 70 HP. But it's kind of nuts how far ahead he is. So, you know, we're going to try our best here. We're going to try our best to, like, you know, get that top 4. We already have top 4. We're going to try and like push that to a little bit higher. If I find a Caitlyn will really make my board spike quite a bit. I'm very broke. I should just be selling these steps. I should have sold them ages ago. That's just me just being stupid. You know, in my head, I'm thinking like maybe I'll hit step 3. Doesn't matter if I have step 3. Of course not. Also, I'm stacking a lot of little buddies here. A lot of my board is trash. I should just upgrade to like better units. I'm just really broke. Like I said, I burnt all my gold going to level 9. Not because I'm not trying to play for first this game. I'm just trying to make sure that I make it into a certain threshold. Right? If I was high rolling a little bit harder, I wasted a lot of gold looking for Vi and Ambessa. Remember my mid game on stage 4? Like, I was rolling very, very deep and I was losing a lot of rounds there. I felt like I played my early game really well. My mid game was very shaky. But, you know, you gotta be... there's not much you can do at that point. Here... yeah. I could play Vertical Emissary with this board, by the way, because I can drop 1, 2 units and I can play 3 Emissary, I think. But I think you have to be level 10 for that. So I wouldn't recommend it. I put blue buff on Caitlyn, maybe because she can get a multiple cast off. Rearrange my items a little bit. I should be stronger than most people now. This Caitlyn's going to do massive damage, especially with the IE Last Whisper. So, yeah, I'm going to beat this guy for sure. I think I'm strongest in the lobby if I'm being real. The only person I think is stronger than me is probably that one guy that we just played, the scrap guy. So here I'm Caitlyn paired. So if we can hit Caitlyn 2, we're in a really, really good spot. And if we don't hit Caitlyn 2, then, you know, we'll just settle into something. We're playing for placements, right? We'll try our best. But my board's going to be doing a lot of damage now. This Caitlyn is just a huge power spike, basically. Like, this board, I think I can beat. It's just the scrap guy's board that's very scary. Because the scrap guy has a health shield. The health shield makes it so that, how do I phrase it? Like, when you're playing these boards, right? For example, here, you'll see the wanted emblems. You want to kill these units so that you gain your attack speed as early as possible, right? Because then it snowballs. When you're playing the scrap board, one of the bigger problems with the scrap board is that I can't kill the units fast enough to gain the wanted bonuses. Like here, I instantly deleted this guy's front line, vaporized him to like literal smithereens. So I got a bunch of attack speed stacks on my Ambessa and my Vi and my Caitlyn. So they kind of start to pop off. They go into like this hyper mode, right? This guy, because he's scrap, he's 6 scrap, all his scrap units start with a health shield, so it makes it that much harder to get to the point where I gain the attack speed from the wanted bonuses, right? It makes it so that, like, because his board is, like, very, very tanky, I kind of, like, I'm kind of, like, sputtering, you know? Like I need the traction to, like, pop off. Best is a 2x unit. I'm repositioning this way because I checked the HP on the units, and this Elise has a bunch of HP. And she's not scrap. Remember what I was saying with the scrap units was really bad? If you look at this Elise, she's a wanted unit and she's not scrap. So I positioned to kill the Elise first, and as you can see, my whole board gets the attack speed. Ambessa's popping off, Vi's popping off, and look at this fight. Out of nowhere, I beat this guy. Now mind you, he's level 10, he's going for a Lowy 3, Echo 3, and Corky 3. He's 1 off of this, 2 off of this, and 2 off of this. There's a very small chance that I go top 1 in this game, but I'm just trying to show you that's how you can beat boards, right? That guy's board is illegal. He's going for like 3-star everything. He's level 10. He's high rolling out of his butt. But as you can see, it is possible to beat them. You just have to think really hard about what you're doing, and positioning matters a lot. I get a little dude here, which is pretty good. I took an extra Last Whisper on Carousel just because, like, you know, in case my Caitlyn doesn't hit somebody, I'll put it somewhere else just to make sure that there's more shred going on. And now this is a part where I think we need to focus a little bit. So look at this round. I'm going to gather a Rel 2, and then I roll. Okay. I have 1 gold here. Caitlyn over here. What should I do? Quiz time. What should I do? Okay. The answer is sell, buy. I couldn't think of it in time. Right? I have 1 gold. Right? This is 6 gold. I sell. I have a Maddie on bench, right? The reason I'm holding this extra Maddie is because I know for sure that if I need to in a clutch moment, I can sell this for 3 gold. That's why I'm holding on to the Maddie. Now, I couldn't add it up fast enough because I couldn't see somebody else to put in here. But this is Pit Fighter, which helps the Vi. Now, when you're playing Vertical Enforcer, the Pit Fighter is not that necessary. It gives a little bit of HP and damage champ. I haven't really talked about it all that much. I could have been playing a Pit Fighter over the Bruiser, but I think that it's just better, especially because I'm Anomaly on, what's her name? On Ambessa. I much rather would have the HP than the Pit Fighter, which only benefits the Vi. I'd rather just benefit my Ambessa, who is the one doing most of my damage. But anyways, I should have definitely sold, buy, right? I'll put little logos. Buy, sell. And because it's better than nothing. Now I lose Bruiser, but that's fine. And I would have had Caitlyn too. Now if we watch this fight, I'm sure you guys can figure out what's going to happen. It's not going to go well. Spoiler. But of course, you also have to put into consideration this guy's 54 HP and he's one off of like literally everything. Like, it's very hard for me to win this game because he's going to cap out higher. As you can see, my Caitlyn gets caught on this dude before the Elise, so I don't get my wanted stack early enough. As you can see, my wanted stacks go a little bit later. My Caitlyn doesn't. She's kind of sputtering. This guy's still alive, right? This Trundle basically tanked my Caitlyn the entire fight. And that's just like the nature of scrap with the shielding. It just kind of sucks. If I had Caitlyn too, I'm sure she would have killed the Trundle earlier and then I would have popped off. So there's a chance I can win that game if I played that last round a little bit better. But of course, that last round was as hard as it was because I made mistakes along the way, which I pointed out. There's also a lot of other mistakes like optimizations. Like I could have leveled a little bit later. I could have played different units as my little +1s. I could have played towards like Rumble and other units that give better utility. Stuff like that. But just as an overarching like, hey, this is how you play Enforcers. This was the VOD review for today for everybody. So thank you for watching and hopefully it was enjoyable. And I'll see you guys around. Bye-bye.